Alright, you mobile application developers, welcome back. So in this video, we are going to learn how to create a toolbar, and I'm really excited about this video because toolbar is something you need in every mobile application. And toolbar is also of two types: a top toolbar that appears at the top of your mobile screen and also a bottom toolbar. So we are going to be learning both of these things, and we are going to be using the builder method to create that toolbar. And if you don't know what the builder method is, make sure you watch my previous videos, otherwise the builder method is not gonna make any sense. And we have just added a screen for right now, but we are gonna be removing it and adding the screen using the builder method. And to use the builder method, we first need to import the builder functionality from Kivy. So we are just gonna write from Kivy, not KivyMD, and then we are gonna use this .lang, and we are gonna import our builder functionality. And then we need to create a helper string, multi-line string. So we're just gonna write screen underscore helper. You can just call it whatever you want. I'm just gonna call it screen underscore helper, and we are gonna create a multi-line string by writing 3 quotes at the starting and at the end. First thing we need to add is a screen over here. So what we can do is we can just write screen, and then we don't need the screen functionality that we have imported from here. So I'm just going to remove this from here, and also we are going to remove this functionality from here. And when we add the screen over here, then the screens is automatically imported. You don't need to import it by manually writing code. That is one of the benefits of using the builder method. So first we need to add our screen, and then we need to add our box layout. So if you don't know what the box layout is, make sure you watch the Kivy basics videos. I've already gone a lot into it, so I'm not going to go into it over here. But in short, basically whenever you want to stack your elements vertically or horizontally, then you use the box layout. But because we want our toolbar to appear at the top or at the bottom, box layout is perfect for it. So first we are going to add a box layout, and then it needs what kind of orientation. So you can stack your elements horizontally or you can stack your elements vertically. So for this we need our orientation to be vertical. So I'm just going to write orientation, and then I'm just going to give it a value of vertical. And then inside this box layout, we are going to create our MDToolbar, and we're just going to write MDToolbar over here. And obviously we don't need to import this MDToolbar because when we use our builder method, this MDToolbar is automatically imported for us. So MDToolbar, this requires some values. The first value is title, what should be shown in that toolbar. So I'm just going to write title, and then for right now I'm just going to call this demo application. So let's write that demo application. And then just for the sake of it, let's also add a MD label or a label or a text inside our screen just to see how it looks. So I'm gonna do inside this box layout, first we have our MD toolbar at the top, stacked at the top of our screen, and then we're gonna stack our MD label. So I'm just gonna write MD label over here, and this is just like the labels that we learned in the label video, so it's not a lot different. First we add our MD label, and then it requires some parameters as to what text should be shown. So I'm just gonna write over here, let's say hello world. And then where do we want it to appear? We want it to appear in the center of the screen, so we can just use this H align that we learned in the labels video. So I'm just going to write H align, and we want it to appear in the center of our screen. So I'm just going to write center, and we're going to format everything properly. And we're also going to use the builder functionality and build this screen underscore helper. So inside the screen variable, we are just going to use this builder functionality, and then we are just going to write load underscore string. And what string do we want to load? We want to load this screen underscore helper multi-line string. So I'm just going to write screen helper over here, and then I'm just going to format everything properly, and let's run our main.py file and see how it looks. So now you can see that there is this demo application that is at the top, and then there is this hello world which is in the center. And if we minimize it a little bit, you can see how it will look inside your mobile application. Obviously we'll be adding a lot more functionalities to it. And one more thing, that whenever we want to test how our application is gonna look on our mobile phone, first if we reload it, you'll be able to see that it actually gives us this big screen, and which is actually good for if we are developing an application for iPad or something. But every time we have to test it for a mobile phone, we first have to minimize it. And that is gonna be a problem if we use this functionality a lot. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna, for the sake of this production, I'm just gonna add this window size functionality, so that every time we run our program, our window size automatically changes to that of a mobile phone. So I'm just gonna write from Kivy.core, and we are going to use a core functionality inside our Kivy. I'm just going to use this core.window, and we are going to import with a capital W called window functionality. And then because we want to change the size of our window, I'm just going to write window.size, and it requires a tuple. So I'm going to give it a width of 300 pixels and a height of 500 pixels. And this is just for development, and whenever you want to create your actual mobile application and whenever you want it to go into production, you need to remove this line. So make sure you remember that. But just for testing purposes, we can add it, and you can see our screen automatically shrinks. So that is an advantage. Now let's try and add some icons on the left hand side and the right hand side, because our toolbar kind of looks empty right now. So what we're going to do is inside this empty toolbar, we are going to add something known as left underscore action underscore items, and then this is a multi-thread list. So inside a list we are going to add another list, and inside this let me just add first it requires an icon. So I'm just going to call this icon as menu, and these are the icons that we discussed in the labels video. So we have a lot of icons that are already inside KivyMD, like Android, language Python. We have already used these icons, so this time we are just going to use this menu icon. But also we want something to happen when this menu icon is clicked. Some kind of function should be called. So for that we are just going to put a comma, and I'm going to be using this lambda function. So I'm just going to explain in a bit what this lambda function is, but for right now we are just going to write lambda x, and then we are going to write the name of the function. So inside the mobile application, I haven't created this function yet, but let's just call this function as navigation underscore draw, and we are going to put a bracket over here. So what this does is basically you don't need to understand what lambda function is. You just need to know that this function of navigation underscore draw will be automatically called whenever this menu button is clicked. So now let's actually create this navigation underscore draw method. So inside our demo app, we are going to create another method, and let's just call it navigation underscore draw. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it over here. And it will also require a self parameter, so I'm going to give it that, and then I'm just going to print on the screen something like navigation, so that we know it's actually working. And let's format everything properly, and now let's run our main.py file to see if our icon is appearing or not. So now you can see that there is this menu icon over here, and whenever we click on it, you can see that on our console navigation has been printed. Now similarly, just like we have added an icon over the left hand side, we can also add an icon on the right hand side. So to do that, we are just going to copy this and paste it over here, and instead of left action items, we are just going to add a right action items. And now instead of this menu, we can use another icon. Let's just call it clock, and you can change this function name if you want, but I'm just going to call it navigation underscore draw just for the sake of understanding. So let's reload it, and now you can see that this clock icon has appeared, and whenever we click on it, a navigation is printed on our console. So now we can also add some more functionality. So for example, right now this looks kind of flat, and there's also not a lot of space over here. You can see the demo application is not fully shown, so you have to make sure that whatever text you put over here, you can see all of the text. So instead of writing demo application, I'm just going to write it as demo. And another thing what I want to change is the elevation, so that some kind of shadows appear at the bottom. So to add the elevation, you can just write over here inside your MDToolbar, you can add a value of elevation. So I'm going to write elevation, and then you can put in the value. So for example, if I put in something absurd like 20, you'll be able to see the exaggerated version of it. You can see that all right, it's not appearing, so because our spelling is wrong. So let's make sure our spelling is right. Elevation. Now let's reload it, and you'll be able to see that our shadow is appearing really far away. We want our shadow to appear somewhere at the bottom of our toolbar. So you can change this value to something like 10 and reload it, and you'll be able to see that a cool effect appears at the bottom of our toolbar, which makes it kind of looks like that this toolbar is elevated a little bit. And I think the perfect value for this is 8. Feel free to work around with it, play around with it, and see what works best for you. What I have seen in my experience is that the 8 value works the best, but feel free to play around with it. So now that we have added the elevation, let's actually try and change the color of this toolbar. So by now you are probably already know how to change its color. You can just change the theme of this toolbar or of the application and change its color. So what we are going to do is inside our def build, let's just refer to self and then theme underscore cls dot primary palette underscore palette, and make sure that the spelling is right. If the spelling is wrong, it's gonna mess it up, just like I always do. So now we can just give it a color. I'm just going to give it a color of red, and now let's reload it, and you'll be able to see that it is in red color and it actually looks pretty cool. So now we have two icons over here, and that are the menu and the clock. And now let's try and add a bottom toolbar over here. That will be pretty cool. To add a bottom toolbar, what we are going to do is, let's not remove this MD toolbar that we have already created, and we're going to add another one over here. So I'm just going to add a MD bottom and then app bar, and then inside this we are going to add our MD toolbar. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this, not all of it. I'm just going to copy some of it. Actually, you can copy all of it if you want. So let's actually try and copying all of it and see how it looks. So we have just created this MDBottomAppBar, and then inside that we have added MD toolbar, and that is how Kivy knows that we want this toolbar to appear at the bottom. So now let's reload it, and you'll be able to see that it's giving us an error. Let's see why. So this is because MD toolbar, as you can see, this title and all the elements inside MD toolbar are indented properly. So over here they are not indented. So make sure you press our tab button and make sure the indentation is right. So now let's reload it, and you'll be able to see that a bottom toolbar has appeared. And there's also this action button, which is a cool action button over here. But it doesn't look good if both of them look the same. So let's try and change some of the things at the bottom. So first of all, instead of demo, let's just call it something like help, and we're going to remove our right icon, and instead of this menu we are just going to add something like maybe coffee. And instead of, let's just remove the elevation, because at the bottom I just don't like elevation in my experience. And now let's reload it and see how it looks. So it should look a little bit decluttered and a little bit better. Now there are also something known as modes. So you can see it's appearing at the center right now. What we can also do is make sure that it appears on the right hand side or maybe somewhere in the air. So there are different kind of modes. Actually, there are two kind of modes. So let's actually see how both of the modes affect where our icon appears. So I'm just going to add a mode over here, and the first mode is known as the end mode. So let's reload it, and you'll be able to see that our icon appears somewhere on the right hand side and it looks pretty good. And then there is something known as the free end. So we are just going to write free dash end, and now let's reload it, and you can see it's a little bit in the air, and you probably have seen this kind of functionality in a lot of the applications. But personally for me, actually I like this end one a little bit better. It just looks a little bit cooler. And what you can also do if it's at the end is that you can elevate this a little bit. So for example, if I add something known as a type, and we give it a functionality of or the value of bottom, and we reload it, you'll be able to see that it actually floats a little bit and it looks a lot more cooler. So I'm just gonna go with this one. And what you can also do is you can remove this title from here if you want a more minimalistic kind of look. I'm just giving you ideas on how to make this a little bit better. So you can see now there is a title at the top, and this looks actually a little bit cool. So when you click on this button, something should happen, but something is not happening over here. So we can also give it a function, and this is known as an action button. So if you want to give a function to an action button, we have another value, another parameter over here known as on underscore action underscore button, and then you can just give it another method or a function to call, and we don't have to write lambda over here because it's already an inbuilt functionality. And we are just going to call the navigation underscore draw over here too. So I'm just going to paste that, and when we click on this action underscore button, you'll be able to see that a navigation has been printed on our screen. Now one last thing before I end this video is that you can also change this icon over here. So you can see there is an Android icon. There are a lot of icons available already inside KivyMD, so you can use one of those icons. And I'm not going to go into what kind of icons are present because we have already gone through it a lot. But for right now, what we are going to do is I'm just going to change this icon to, let's say, because we are learning Python, so might as well change it to something like language-python. And let's reload it, and you'll be able to see that a Python logo has appeared. Alright guys, so this was pretty much it for this video. Hope you really enjoyed this video. I know this was a very interesting video and one of my favorites, to be honest. So guys, in the next video we are going to learn how to actually create a navigation bar. So for example, when you click on this menu icon, all of these items will come out, slide out, and you probably already know what a navigation drawer is, but it's going to be a really cool video. So I'll see you in the next video.